In this demonstration, what I'd like to do is showcase that we can utilize automatic pricing to create an original takeoff condition and then turn off automatic pricing, continue to reuse that takeoff condition and apply some variables to other line items so that they're nested together. I'm going to navigate back over to the tower and I want to take off, say, in apartment 1B. I go over to the filter view, I'll turn everything on to begin with, then over to the cost database view, and I want to find carpet, which I've already done here. As I queue up the sheet carpeting, you'll notice that it automatically, based upon square yards is the unit of measure, assumes that the takeoff type is area. And that's very useful because yes, I would like to use area, but I will want to use things like, say, perimeter and possibly count in just a little bit as well. Another thing to be aware of is to go ahead and change your sticky WBS properties to the current system. So this is going to be in 02 tower. Now, the description and the item number come in as the takeoff condition, but I want to make this more global. This is going to be apartment 1B. And I'm about ready to go ahead and start just drag and drop. And I have my apartment 1B item. Now we can see the sheet metal, we can see the sheet carpeting get applied. And then at the same time, if we were to go over to the filter view, we could see that we're in the tower and now we are at apartment 1B. So I've isolated down just to that single line item. Now, if I pin this open just a little bit more, press the escape key, this is where what I'd like to do is take this takeoff condition, so I can queue this up by simply selecting on it, and of course then we would see the nodes. That does reconstitute the takeoff condition apartment 1B right here with our variables. At this point, down in the bottom left corner, I have got automatic pricing turned on. I'm going to go ahead and slide it to off, and that because the takeoff condition apartment 1B not only has area, but it has perimeter, I can go ahead back over to my cost database and find something like base. So as I find a base, let me go ahead and select on, say, a wood base. Once I have that, I can hover over the takeoff condition of the apartment 1B and drag and drop the perimeter, and you can see that it is mapped, and immediately this can be added to the estimate. So now I have two line items that are nested within inside of apartment 1B. And you can see this in more detail, like if I was to go ahead to garage, they would disappear. If I was to go back to the apartment 1B, they reappear as a set, and of course the graphics as well. Well, let's also say that we wanted to use the perimeter and then set some sort of height on the fly for the height of the wall. So if I was to go back to the cost database, again, automatic pricing has been turned off. I have selected on the takeoff condition apartment 1B, so I have access to my variables. I can go back to the cost database and find partition again. And this time, maybe because this is a residential tower, I'm going to go ahead and use a fire code line item. Now, once I have that line item, one thing that I would want to do is go ahead and change my formulas here, and I could have something like, say, for example, length times height, and then select OK, and that opens up, hide this for just a moment, that opens up two variables, length and height. Well, I'm going to use perimeter and map it to the length, and then on the fly, I will just go ahead and set the height of my wall partition, and so now I have the area of the wall. When I select Add to Estimate, I have a third line item that has now been added to the original apartment 1B takeoff condition. One final one is that I could go back and do a find on, say, doors. As I find doors, I want to go ahead and use a wood single door, which is in each. By going over to the f of x to open up the formula editor, I want to use the keyword count, and then maybe I have 6 doors in the apartment 1B. Once I've defined that, that's a hard-coded formula. All I have to do is grab count, drop it over, and I have a quantity of 6, and I add to the estimate. Now that this has been complete, there are a couple of really interesting things that can happen. If I was to go ahead and select on any one of the row headers, like the last one, the door itself, right click and then say sketch, even though automatic pricing is turned off, Destiny Estimator is aware that I want to draw the apartment 1B. So here is now a total of 12 doors. But at the same time, you'll also notice that the carpeting and the fire code wall, as well as the wood base, is also accumulating every time I draw. And if I was to zoom out and say, for example, go ahead and want to make a copy, let's say I want to copy these 3. Control C to copy, and then upper left corner, right click, paste. I have 3 more, and you will see that this loose grouping or coupling of apartment 1B, the takeoff condition, is carrying these 4 line items. And we can see that specifically in the filter view, because I will turn everything on. We can also see the original partitions that I drew. Of course, if we largest monitor, we can also see the concrete work that I did earlier as well. Isolating back to apartment 1B, we are only looking at the 4 items that are nested here as well. One final thought is, from time to time, it may be faster to just pin open the takeoff palette, or even just fly it out for a moment and then activate apartment 1B, and then immediately you can begin drawing more of the same, and you can continue to see that the 4 items that are nested together continue to keep on calculating and accrue.